The NBA draft is this Thursday, and as of right now, the Lakers have no picks. But Rob Pelinka said they will be aggressive in trying to get second-round draft picks. But even if they aren't able to acquire those picks, the Lakers will still be a top destination for undrafted players. So there is still an opportunity to get young talent in this year's draft. So here are the players the Lakers should get. Now all the guys on this list are going to be wing players because the Lakers severely lack players in that position. Ideally, they will sign some wings in free agency, but there aren't that many good wings in this year's free agent class. Plus, every team in the league is trying to get good wing players, so the competition for these players is going to be very high. And due to the low supply and high demand of these players, they might be too expensive for the Lakers to be able to sign. So the next best thing is to get wings from the draft, at least for depth. I'm also only going to mention players that have already worked out with the Lakers because teams usually pick the guys that they work out and see up close and personal. Unless of course it's a high lottery pick that everyone knows is going to be good. And of course the Lakers don't have a lottery pick this year. So let's start this off with an honorable mention. Peyton Watson, 6'8" freshman from UCLA. This is the only guy on the list that the Lakers didn't work out. They just had an interview with him at the Combine. I doubt the Lakers can get this guy. I've seen him on mock drafts going in the first round, and he's unlikely to go undrafted. So I doubt he'll be available for the Lakers by the time they get to pick, unless they're able to get a high second round draft pick. But if he's somehow still available for the Lakers, they should definitely grab him. He's most certainly in the draft because of his upside. He's still pretty raw, and I know the Lakers are probably looking more for someone that can play right away, but I think he's too good of a prospect to not take if he's available. He has great size, great length. He's an excellent athlete. He's quick with the ball in his hands. He has a good motor. He's a solid rebounder, solid scorer, and a good passer and playmaker. His biggest weakness is probably his shooting. He only shot 23% from 3. He also has a skinny frame, and he needs to build up his strength. He turned the ball over a lot, and he made questionable decisions on the court, which is probably why he didn't get much playing time in his only college season. But still, there is a lot of potential, and he would be an absolute steal if they got him. Giuseng, 6'6" wing from UCLA. Yes, another UCLA kid. A hometown kid. He's from Tarzana. He actually was eligible for last year's draft and was a projected first rounder, but ultimately he decided to go back to college for one more year. However, he didn't show much improvement in this year, which is why his draft stock has fallen. But now that means he could potentially be available for the Lakers. He of course had that impressive run in last year's NCAA tournament. He showed his ability to score in various ways and in multiple areas. He has good size and length. His athleticism is decent, and he's an okay defender. He's a solid shooter, shooting 36% from 3, and he has deep range. So his shot should definitely translate to the NBA. He's not great at getting to the rim or at drawing fouls, and his shot selection is questionable at times. He takes a lot of contested shots, usually against smaller players, but those type of shots aren't going to work against NBA size and athleticism. So some of his scoring may not translate to the next level. Jordan Usher, 6'7" wing from Georgia Tech. This guy is probably the most likely to be on the Lakers. He's likely going to be undrafted and therefore available for the Lakers, and I feel like he checks off all the boxes for what the Lakers need. you can just play him right away as a 3-and-D wing. He's a decent shooter, shooting 34% from 3, which isn't the best, but that's good enough to draw in the defense and create that spacing. He's a really good athlete, he's a good finisher, good rebounder, he can defend multiple positions, perfect for a small ball lineup. His biggest weakness, and probably the biggest reason he'll go undrafted, is his age. He's 24, a 50-year senior, which is ancient for a draft prospect. But this is actually good for a team like the Lakers. Veteran team looking to win now. If they do get him, they're getting someone who's more mature and someone they can plug into their system right away. Although he's not a great IQ guy, he often plays out of control and commits a lot of turnovers. But I'd be happy to have him on the Lakers. Jabari Walker, 6'8" wing from Colorado. Probably my favorite out of anybody on this list. He's the son of Samaki Walker, former Laker champion. So that should help his case with the Lakers. We all know that they love bringing in people that are part of the Laker family. But aside from his Laker ties, he's a very good prospect. He's a solid shooter, shooting 35% from deep. He has good size and length. He's a good athlete, good defender that can defend multiple positions, and he's a good rebounder. He's not a great ball handler or a good playmaker, and he tends to foul a lot. But he can still be a valuable player if he doesn't develop those skills. He can still be a 3-and-D wing the Lakers are looking for, and they can plug him right in. Collin Ellis, 6'6" guard from Alabama. Another intriguing prospect. He's a good shooter, shooting 37% from 3. Solid all-around scorer. He's a good rebounder for his size, averaging 6 per game. He's an excellent athlete. He's a solid defender. He can slash to the basket, and he's a good finisher. My only issue with him is that he's more of a guard than a wing. He still has pretty good size for his position at 6'5", 6'6", but he's still more of a 2-3 than a 3-4, which is what the Lakers need more of. They have plenty of guards right now. He also needs to add some strength. He's a bit skinny, which is going to make it difficult for him to guard bigger players, which is why he's likely to play more guard, which again, the Lakers already have plenty of those. His decision-making could use some work. He has questionable shot selection and can be streaky. He commits a lot of turnovers and he gambles a lot on defense. But the talent is definitely there, and he would be a welcome addition to the Lakers if they do get him. Lastly, Hyunjung Lee, 6'7" junior from Davidson in South Korea. He's a good shooter, shooting 38% from 3 last season, and he's a decent scorer, averaging 16 points per game. And he has good size. However, he's not very athletic, and he's not a very good ball handler. So he'll probably be slotted in as a catch-and-shoot guy in the NBA. His defense is not great, and that was at the college level. Plus, he's not a great athlete. He's probably not going to be a good defender in the NBA. Not saying it's impossible, but from what we see now, the chances don't look great. So he'll likely just be a shooting threat that you can insert whenever you need shooting, but not really the 3-and-D guy you're looking for. Hey, you can always use more shooting, and having a solid shooter on your team, likely as an undrafted player, that's not the worst thing in the world. So that's who I think the Lakers should try to get if they're available. Honestly, they're probably not even going to pick any of these guys. Happens all the time. They pick some random guy who's not on anyone's radar, and then it turns out to be a great pick. So I'm sure they've done their homework and they'll make the right decision. So whether they're able to get into the draft and or whoever they sign out of the undrafted free agents, I'll trust their decision.